Hey guys, you are watching Steampunks, the show where we dig through the latest releases on Steam and find you some hidden gems. My name's Jess.
I'm Edmund Tran.
And without further ado, you'll probably know games like Skyrim VR came out this week. That's not a hidden gem.
No, it's a pretty obvious gem, I think.
I would say Skyrim was significantly in the headlines, but these 4 games that you're going to hear about now aren't. So, Ed, why don't you start us off with your first one?
All right, so the first game I played this week is Minit. Mm-hmm. This is a black and white 2D Game Boy Zelda-style RPG with a twist, and it's from a sort of indie developer supergroup, which includes one half of Lambia, famous for Nuclear Throne and all those kind of games, and music by Jukio Kaleo, part of my pronunciation, who wrote the music behind the Lambia games as well. So it's a Zelda-style adventure where you start in your house, and you find this sword, which is cursed and causes you to only exist in the world for 1 minute at a time. That's 60 seconds before you die and find yourself back at the house.
Rough.
So you can't get very far at first, but you'll discover quests that you can do, which will give you things that will upgrade your capacity to overcome obstacles. So the first one, for example, needs you to kill 5 crabs for the bar owner, who then gives you a cup of coffee, which allows you to push boxes. And fortunately, the items you collect and the quests you complete within that minute persist across deaths. So you're constantly squeezing the most out of every 60-second life you have to grab that new item or hit that new home checkpoint that will push you even further. There's an instant death button. So if you find you've taken a wrong turn and you haven't optimized your run and the rest of your life is sort of a bust, you can just kill yourself and respawn instantly. Cool. And it's very, very quick. The game as a whole is very tightly designed, and it's got a really great sense of creativity to its entire design. So like from the items to the characterization to the little sounds that the characters make when they speak, it's also just got a nice sense of humor to it all. So it's really pleasant to go through and sort of see what is on the next screen. So on my first run through of this game, I finished it in just under an hour.
Oh, wow.
But I realized that my completion was like really low. There are so many hidden secrets and items that aren't strictly necessary, but are legitimately fun to find and use to keep on exploring further and further. Yeah, so that's Minit. Minit is $10 on Steam. It's also available on PS4 and Xbox One if you don't have a PC. And it comes highly recommended from me.
Yeah, looks great. He's so cute. Is he a human?
He's not a human, he's some sort of duck thing.
I'll take it.
And I should mention that your 2 main tools are a sword and a watering can.
Wow. Well, so you just told us that the 2 tools you use in the game are a sword and a watering can, right? Or well, your 2 pals in the game Adventure Pals that I played are a giraffe and a rock.
Cool.
So
I like both those things.
So this is a really nostalgic kind of platformer. It's kind of got simple RPG mechanics, like when you get enough experience, you get to get a bigger bag to put more items in, or like a Dark Souls-esque death spirit to keep your coins, which you lose if you die. But on the whole, it's quite easy and it's very accessible. Your main goal is to hunt down rubies to pay back a ransom to this evil dude after who has a plot to turn people into hot dogs.
Okay.
And he kidnaps your father.
This looks and sounds a lot like Adventure Time.
Yeah, okay. So I reckon it's somewhere between Adventure Time and it also reminds me of Steven Universe a lot.
Yeah, like Cartoon Network stuff.
Yeah, so it's like it's very sweet, it's very colorful. It's definitely like got a lot of little funny moments. Also the animations are adorable. He freaks out if he goes too close to the edge of a platform. He looks like he's gonna fall off. It's also got a very Sims 2 buy mode type soundtrack, and it's got kind of like an open Cuphead-ish sort of map where you go from stage to stage and also go into little towns where people give you quests. The quests are crazy simple, as are the little puzzling elements where you need to unlock the next area, but it doesn't really matter. It's kind of just a game you jump into and have a good time. There's nothing halting your momentum, so it's kind of fine that nothing is overly complicated, at least in the beginning hour or 2 that I've played. When you're hunting around levels, you can get collectibles, which are cupcakes, and when you get enough cupcakes to fill a tin, you feed them to a fat cat who gives you skins, which is great.
Sounds good.
So you can you get skins to like wear like a planter box as a hat, or I got one that turned my rock into a battery.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay is probably the right reaction to most of the things that happen in this game. It's very quirky. It's very goofy. So Adventure Pals is $15. People who've played a lot more of the game than I do say it goes for around 15 to 20 hours, the campaign. But that seems like pretty good value for money to me.
All right, so you just played a really nice, accessible platformer. How do you feel about a PvP MOBA?
Sounds like we're upping the ante.
Well, yes, this is a MOBA, but don't go away yet, because it's actually not bad. So this game is AirMech Strike. It's a free MOBA. And I played a lot of MOBAs in my time. I've got like 700 hours in Dota, and I hit max level in Heroes of the Storm. And yeah, this is a MOBA, but it's also really fast and fun and action-packed compared to those ones. And it has the potential to be a lot sort of easier and quicker to get into because it's a 1v1 or a 2v2 MOBA with real-time strategy components. But the classic MOBA tenets are all here. So the main goal is to push towards your enemy's base and destroy it. And there are towers along the way that attack you, and you need to attack and overtake to sort of gain map control. And there are regularly spawning creep, which are sort of weak minions that spawn occasionally and push towards the enemy base regardless of what you do. And you take control of one hero or mech, and you earn currency to sort of buy things. But that's kind of where the similarities kind of end. Each mech has sort of different abilities and stats, so you have your 4 sort of abilities, but they all transform into planes, which is their common thing, and they all have either a ranged or a melee attack, and they all kind of control like you're playing a shoot 'em up. There's also a big RTS component to this here, so the credits you steadily earn can be used to build a variety of support units from like tanks, artillery, sort of extra soldiers, which you can deploy on the battlefield to beef up your push into enemy territory. So you pick them up and you can fly them around the map and put them anywhere you want and sort of give orders to them like directly. You can only order units that are directly in your vicinity. The maps themselves aren't as straightforward as your typical MOBA maps. They're not just like 3 lanes or 1 lane. A lot of the maps have a lot of windy paths and alternate routes and sort of out of the way towers that you can overtake to give you advantage that you don't necessarily have to sort of contest. So MX Strike is a primarily multiplayer 1v1 or 2v2 game, but there are a number of AI opponents that you can go up against to unlock more things. So there's a little bit of a campaign here. That said, I played a few multiplayer matches and got absolutely creamed. There seems to be quite a few people playing it, but like I said, a lot of them have been playing it since early access. It also has sort of Dota style loot boxes sometimes, but there's not a huge emphasis on progression through loot boxes. They're just sort of nice to have boosters. And yeah, look, I have a lot of MOBA fatigue at this point in my life, but the pace of this one and the RTS elements sort of made it very fun from the get-go.
Cool.
So yeah, give it a shot. There are a lot of people playing it, so join them and fill out that multiplayer pool.
And get creamed.
And get creamed.
Okay, so that's very intense. Let's wind things down a little. Let's trying to think of a train pun, and I can't. But I played Train Valley 2.
Okay.
Which was
Is it like AirMech Strike?
Great.
But with trains?
It's not at all like AirMech Strike. What it is like is a puzzle tycoon kind of game. Like every tycoon game, you can pause it, you can have it run at super speed if you know exactly what you're doing, but if you do that, you'll probably have your trains crash into each other.
You can play it at your own pace.
You can play it at your own pace. So half the joy in this game is opening up a map and seeing your little towns. You begin with 1 and then there's more towns in the later levels, and they all have requirements of kind of resources that they need. So it's a matter of sending workers off to the little the mines or the workshops that make that resource, and then getting those resources back where they need to be. So you basically want to be clever about where you're putting down tracks. You need to constantly be adjusting which way the trains go. It's really about managing tracks and schedules and money and resources, and it's really satisfying when you know what you're doing. The tracks can feel a little janky to build at the beginning, but because it lets you build tracks while the game is paused, it's not a huge issue. So there's things like you get a certain amount of money at the beginning, and there's tons of different things, especially in the later levels, that you can spend money on, and you need to decide how you're going to prioritize. For example, there's no point building a track to get workers to a sawmill that requires wood to turn into other kinds of logs if you don't have wood first. So you want to get your primary resources, so then you can, for example, you need to get wheat to get cows. And then you get the cows.
This is not what I was expecting from this game.
No, it's not what I was expecting either. Every time you create a resource, say you create a stack of wood or you create a pile of sand, one of the workers gets used. So I don't know what's happening to the people. I think there's a conspiracy. But so you need to constantly be sending workers over there as well. It's really nice as well because it's taking you through the progression of the railroad. So you're starting in like a little farm or like dealing with stuff on the land, and then you move your way towards levels that are based around like the Eiffel Tower and a palace and
Like
stuff in the
commuting and
city.
stuff?
Yeah, and it gets it gets much more complicated.
Okay.
And the kinds of resources you have to get more complicated, and they get harder to get.
I'm into this. I kind of want to play it now.
It's really fun.
It's in an early access, right?
Yeah, it is in early access, and it's $10, but there's a lot of content in there. I find very little to complain about with this game. It's just like a really enjoyable experience.
All right, well, I think this train has come to its final stop. So thank you
Yes.
for joining us on this episode of Steampunks. If you have any recommendations of games that we might have missed this week or games that we should look out for next week, be sure to let us know on Twitter. I'm at Edmund Schran.
And I'm at Jess McDonald.
But until then, we'll see you for the next episode of Steampunks next week.
See you then.
Goodbye.